Hello. So, my name is Nelly, and I just woke up super early today, and I I don't know why, it's a random thought. I've been wanting to look up Trisha Paytas for a while now because I haven't watched her in a while, and I'm not like a number one fan or anything, but and I know she's controversial. I know there are people that love her and people that really don't. and it's whatever. You can have your whatever opinion you want on someone, but for me personally, I always will appreciate when someone is completely themselves, and unapologetic about it. And then obviously when they mess up, they will be apologetic, and she's done that a few times. Sorry, this cat's messing with me. His name's Finn. He's little, and he's not my cat. Yeah, like I just woke up, so sorry for the almost splashed, but I got the sweater on. So, anyways, okay, Finn's messing me up a little bit. But anyways, I've just been thinking about her lately because she's always been the type of person to like just be really real about who she is, And in that aspect, she's inspired me to consider doing the same. But I always have an excuse. I'm always like, oh no, like for example, for the longest time, I've gone through a lot in my life, I guess. Not more than others, obviously, but I've gone through some things. Even I might look young because I get that a lot, but I'm actually almost 27. I will be in February. February 8th is my birthday. And I remember growing up on YouTube too and watching all these girls around the same age as me make personal YouTube videos and like little blogs and stuff. And those were always my favorite, blogs, sorry, but those were always my favorite videos to watch because they were personal and I I loved those girls. I really felt like I just admired them, I could relate to them, and I felt like they were one of my best friends. And then I realized one day, wait a minute, I know so much about this person and they don't even know me. And I think I was already like 15 by that time or 14, somewhere around that age, and I was like, wait, that's weird. And so when I realized it was weird, I just found myself not watching them as much anymore. And I don't know, because I guess that was just a personal thing. I just felt like it was weird. I didn't think too much about it. I was just like, oh, weird, and I stopped. Even though for years I was watching them. So, one of them I know specifically was Neesey, right? Never Shout Neesey. And she inspired me for my name later on when I was like 16 and I made my Instagram. I was like, what goes with Nelly, like with an N? Couldn't really think of much. I mean, like a narwhal. Um, but Niecy at one point, I don't know what social media it was, but she did Niecy Nebula or something like that. So then I was like, what is that? I didn't even know what that word meant. And so I had to look it up. And it was really cool. It's like basically space, star, gas, and dust in the air. It's really cool. Well, obviously in space, not in our air. That would be really bad and scary. But it's really beautiful. It's always like these beautiful colors. And so then I was like, oh, that goes with my name too. And she stopped using it after a while, but I think at the time she still was. And I was like, I felt a little funny stealing it from her, but I'm like a nobody is how I saw it compared to her, because she had a pretty big following. At the time, that's what I thought anyways. I don't know what her following is now. Probably the same or more. But I changed my Instagram to Nelly Nebula. So, okay, credit to Niecy for that. And credit to Trisha for encouraging me to post. Like, even though this is my YouTube channel, and I actually don't know who's subscribed to me right now, and I don't think I'm going to check because I don't want it to influence whether I post or not. I just want to post personal stuff now and like just whatever, so at least people can get to know who I am as a person, even though I don't think I'm like, I'm not like the most important person ever to ever exist, but in a weird way, we kind of all are. You know, we exist for a reason, and so maybe it's good to put ourselves out there because you never know who you're gonna help or who you're gonna influence, right? Just by being yourself. And even now, right? Like I just woke up, and this is really weird for me. I mean, my hair's all lumpy because I had it up for work yesterday. It was like in a high ponytail, but yeah. Anyways, I'm gonna shower later. I just decided to start it right away because, you know, like people like Trisha and neesey, they get so personal, you know, and they're not afraid to just be vulnerable and just be themselves on camera even right after they wake up, which is really admirable to me. And I know it's also admirable to get yourself together and you know make a good presentation too, which I'm also gonna do and will try to do in some videos. But I just wanted to talk about recently like what I've gone through. Um, Maybe a little bit of background on me. I was born in Hemet, California. It's a super tiny town in California, right next to an even tinier town named San Jacinto, and that's where I went to high school. And like, I apologize if I don't pronounce things the right way. Like, I am Mexican because both of my parents came from Mexico, but I grew up mostly in Idaho actually, because by the time I was 4 years old, my mom had married my stepdad and we all moved to Idaho where his family was, and his family came from England. He came here to the US when he was like 2, so he didn't have an accent or anything. He was American, and so am I because I was born here, but both of my parents were born in Mexico. And I guess my original dad, he ended up being diagnosed with psychotic disorder. Sounds kind of intense. I mean, it was, from what I heard. And I haven't known him since I was like 2. So that was just definitely not a good situation for my family. So it was actually really good that things worked out the way they did, you know, and he ended up separated from us. Let's just say that much. I don't know how vulnerable I'm willing to get right away with the internet, but anyways, so that's a little bit of background. I grew up mostly in Idaho, so that's why I don't know. That's why I am the way that I am. So I grew up mostly in Boise, Idaho. I spent some time in Twin Falls visiting through there. I lived in a super tiny town named Jackpot, Nevada, the border of Nevada and Idaho, right at the border. And it was such a small town that they only had like small little stores. And if you really wanted to go shopping, you had to go to Twin Falls, which was like 40 minutes away or whatever. It's getting kind of hot. I'm gonna turn down this heat. Yeah. Anyways, so uh, that's a little bit of background. So I lived a little bit in Idaho, Nevada. We kept moving back and forth like every year. My dad would move us around, stepdad, I guess to be specific, but he was my dad, and so he would move us like basically every year. And the longest I lived anywhere, I would say, was later on in my life. I remember living in Iowa for 3 years, and then I'll explain how I got there. But anyways, he would move us from Idaho to Nevada, back and forth, and then a couple times back to California. And coming back to California was definitely a trip. I guess I came back once when I was 6 for like not even that long. And then I moved back when I was like 14. So I was in that super weird age. You know, in my opinion, that's a weird age because you're right in between, you know, you're still growing, you're still, like, you just left middle school and you're about to start freshman year in high school. It was kind of scary. For me, it was anyways. I was always kind of a little on the shy side and, like, didn't really know who I was yet. And, it's, in my opinion, that age is just awkward because you're still growing and getting to know who you are. So that's a little background more about me. And so anyways, from there, eventually my stepdad leaves too. He kind of has to, you know, things just get to a point where that's how it is. And he definitely had so much love for all of us. And we all do things in life, you know, that separate um, old relationships, you know, and I do think it's all meant to be, you know, and it's all allowed for very good reasons, you know, it causes important life lessons along the way, and this was a long time ago to him, and whenever I talk about it, normally I don't get emotional, so I'm kind of surprised, you know, with it, but I've been through a lot lately too, so you'll understand as I keep talking. Um, so we ended up, my mom, she got back in contact with an old childhood friend, or family friend, right? That they knew each other when they were younger, but they were separated when they were younger because, you know, the families, let's just say the families did not get along in the best ways, right? So, but they really, really had strong feelings for each other, and they got back in contact. We ended up moving out to Texas. I really, really didn't want to because at this point I was going to be a senior in my high school. I had already spent 3 years at that high school, but my junior year was getting sketchy. Like all of a sudden, you know, people that were my friends for the last couple years were like believing what other people that didn't really know me were saying about me. Like, one example I guess would be like this girl overheard me talking to another girl at a lunch table that I don't normally sit at, but I knew these people. I was cool with them, except for that girl. Didn't really know her, but she was best friends with one of my best friends, right? But we never really hung out or talked. So I went and sat at that table, and the girl that I actually was pretty cool with, she asked me like, "Hey, I'm surprised you're not hanging out with the usual people you go hang out with." And I'm like, "Yeah, well, it's just because they were a group of 4 people in the end." So the group that she was talking about. I'm sorry, this is a little confusing, but anyways, so it would be my best friend that was a girl, her boyfriend, and then our mutual friend who was a boy, right? So it was those 3 and me. So it was just the 4 of us. But eventually, there was this guy that everyone didn't really like, or they would just like be a little mean to him, you know. And then one day, they pointed out that he was sitting alone off to the side, and they were kind of, I'm not gonna lie, they were kind of making fun of him. And I'm not trying to say all this to make them look bad or to make me look better or anything, but this is just what happened from my perspective. And I felt bad seeing him just all alone and sad. And I was like, and then everything that I had heard everybody say about him, I was just like, man, you know, instead of thinking he deserved it, I just didn't know him. I just saw his state, and I just thought that was sad. And I grew up Christian, so I remember when I was really little, like 5 years old, I had like no empathy for people because I was an autopilot, and I literally thought life was like a video game and I was the main character. So I was the only one that really had feelings. No, that's messed up. But I was little. And so that same year when I was like 5, I learned about Christianity. Like my mom taught me about God, and it's fine if you don't believe in that, and or you believe in whatever you want to believe in. I respect that. Everyone is in different you know, stages in their life and situations in their life. I totally get that. So basically, when I learned about my faith, though, my mom had to explain to me that everybody else has the exact same feelings as me. And I remember right before she explained that to me, my first instance of being confused about that aspect of life was like, I was in kindergarten and they did this thing where we would all sit in a circle on a rug with like little numbers on it and stuff, and then the teacher would just like talk to us and grade us, you know, and whoever got the best grade would get a sticker on their folder. Okay, and they were pretty cool stickers. I don't know, I wanted one, everybody wanted one. And so I didn't so much want to be recognized as being smart, but I just wanted that sticker. And one day it was between me and this other girl, right? And I remember this girl because on the first day of school she had cut me in line, and I was like, oh my gosh, what a jerk. And I was in school in Idaho, so we all looked different. We were all different types of kids and but I never thought much about it, you know. So I kind of think it's funny when later on people like one type of person will do something with someone, or like someone that looks different from you, and then people will be like, they'll generalize that type of person or whoever is similar to them and not similar to themselves, and then they'll basically be racist and prejudiced. And like I never understood that, because I did not care what you looked like or what type of person you were or whatever. Like if you did something mean to me, you're just a jerk. That doesn't mean everybody else is, or anyone else who's like related to you in whatever ways, you know. So I always thought that was kind of funny, but it's not funny. I mean, like that stuff is mean. But anyways, yeah, this girl, it was between me and her, and was tied. And this was like months into kindergarten. Like I've been waiting for my chance to get a sticker. And then in the end, I was like, she ended up randomly deciding who won. I don't remember how, and it ended up being her by chance. And I was like, wait. Because even waiting for that moment, I was like, no, I'm definitely going to get this, because I'm me. I'm the main character. I'm like, my feelings are the ones that matter. Like, this random AI person or whatever, this random, like, player over here is not real. They don't have real feelings, so why the heck would they win? You know, it didn't make any sense to me. So I was like, yeah, I got this. But then it ended up being her, and I was so confused. I'm like, wait, why her? Like, my feelings are the ones that matter. Like, what? And then it was not long after that that my mom explained to me about God and how everybody actually has the exact same feelings as me. And I remember being so disappointed. It was literally like like my heart like sank, because I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to care about everybody else's feelings too. And I already had such intense feelings, so I was like, man, that's a lot. Like that's crazy. So, um, yeah, that was my first lesson on empathy, and I kind of think, sadly, ever since then, I've been a little, like, I might be a little overly empathetic toward people, because I literally see them, like, as myself, right? And then it doesn't help that later on in life, I've tripped a lot, psychedelics, I know. I try not to anymore, like, I haven't in a while, but I have this strange relationship with psychedelics. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not like endorsing it. I'm not trying to tell everybody, oh, you should go do this stuff. You know, I'm just saying from my personal experience and my own personal struggles and all that. So yeah, and I've tripped before, and I've literally seen whoever I'm with as myself, or I am them, or you know, an extension of them, or they're an extension of me. And it's like, I guess now that I'm saying that out loud, because I recently learned about narcissism too, that kind of sketch about me, but whatever. Anyways, but it makes me have a lot of empathy for people. And then like I've had a couple people tell me that I'm very empathic, or that I'm an empath, which like who can really know? But I guess I could see it. I've done a little bit of research on that. If I'm somewhere, because the empathy and narcissism and all that, they're a spectrum, right? And we all fall on these spectrums. So I would say, when it comes to empathy, I am a little high up in the spectrum. I'm not like probably not the most empathetic person in the world, especially since recently I've tried to be less empathetic, just because it's not that I don't care about others. I can't help but care about others, but I try to set more boundaries, and I try to focus on myself more. And that can be really hard, especially at first, you know, and then later people they start to see you as a little mean, right? Or a little selfish, and then you can't help but see yourself that way, because you are being more selfish, and it's supposed to be for your own good, but it can be hard at first. You can feel bad, you know, and it can be a little difficult to decipher, like, am I really being unfair or mean, or am I really setting healthy boundaries for myself, you know? And that can be hard, because only you can really tell, and even it's difficult for you, right? So anyways, I'm kind of jumping around a little bit, but I'm just like expressing what I've been through lately. That makes me think of one specific situation where it was really difficult for me. Was kind of recently. It was like before, I would say around springtime this year was the last time that my brother was staying with me, my older brother. And he came out from Texas. He had been out there for the longest time. Been trying to get him out here, and he finally came out here, but he ended up actually stuck out here. and I do think it had to be God's will. I mean, it could just be my fault, I'm not gonna lie, but I got his little car that because he was struggling with car stuff, right? Because he had got into an accident in his car. I think it got totaled. I'm pretty sure it got totaled. And anyways, my mom and her boyfriend, who is a lot like, he's a good man. It's a lot like another father almost, but that it feels funny saying that because we're so much older now. And I was talking to a friend yesterday, and it reminded me of like the Step Brothers scene where he's like, "Well, I'm not calling you dad," and he's like, "Well, yeah, well, you're like 30, so." And then what does he say? He's like, "I'm not calling you dad, not even if there's a fire." And he reminded me of that line, and I was like, "Oh, I completely forgot about that part. That's funny." But anyways, my brother was living here with me, and there was one time where like I noticed that he was consistently paying rent to the guy in Texas still, even though he wasn't living there anymore. But he knew that he was holding his things for him, and he also was going through something. I think like the death of a loved one. I don't completely remember because I didn't know him, and he just told me about it briefly. But he felt bad, so he kept paying for the space, even though he wasn't even living there anymore. And he eventually like stopped paying for it, and he just told the guy, "Hey, just toss his things out." But he didn't realize he had a couple important paperworks in there, but that's fine. I mean, it can be fixed. Um, but he ended up, like, when he was done paying rent there, he paid rent for me immediately. Like, I didn't even need to ask him for it. And he completely just, like, transferred over to here and, like, started being, like, a roommate to me and giving me rent. And I was like, that's so cool. Like, I didn't even have to ask him. I was so used to having to ask for rent from whoever I was living with. So that was cool. And he paid it, like, days ahead. Or even a week or more ahead. Like, it was really cool of him and really considerate of him. And then the next month came around and he didn't pay me at all. And then I asked him about it, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I've kind of figured I could pay it over time, maybe like 100 this month, 100 next month, and like extra, right, until he catches up." But then I did the math, and it would take him like 3 or 4 months to catch up, and that's if he did the extra payments every month. And I was like, "Wait, why are you doing this to me when, like, you would go out of your way every single month to make sure that that guy got rent, right? And, like, I'm your sister. Like, to me, that's some stranger that I don't even know him, right? And me, I'm your sister. I mean, like, shouldn't you be even more down for me? And who knows, right? That's an opinion. Like, just because somebody's family doesn't mean that you have to give them even better treatment, right? But I don't know, that's just was a little confusing to me, because I mean, for me personally, my family matters more than another random person. But at the same time, when someone's your family, you can lean on them more and like trust that they'll be there for you even when you mess up or even when you're not doing your best. And so in a funny way, we could kind of take advantage a little bit of that. I feel like we've all been guilty of that at some point. So I understand that. And so anyways, it was kind of difficult, right? Like when I had to kind of call out the behavior, and then it did not go well because of course when you first get called out for something you do wrong, you're gonna be on the defense, right? And so it ended up being like he left, right? And like at first I felt kind of bad even before all that actually ended up happening, right? Because I'm like, I don't want to be the one to have to set boundaries against my own family. And especially my brother. He's always been like probably the closest person in my life, you know, other than my mom and my little brother. But anyways, I'm really rambling now. I hope this video doesn't get too long. I think I left off, right? I talked about learning about empathy when I was little, growing up in Idaho, living in Nevada was cool. I'll talk about that some other time. And yeah, that's a little bit of background about me. I moved to Texas because my mom got remarried. And from there, I really, really did not like Texas because even growing up, all the stereotypes about Texas and stuff was just like cringy to me. And I remember thinking to myself, if there's one place in the world that I never ever want to live, it's Texas. I will live anywhere else but there if it were up to me. But apparently it wasn't up to me. And right, it was my senior year. That's where I left off. It was my senior year in high school. It was going to be. And I had already spent 3 years there. But then yeah, people were getting sketchy. People were starting to like turn on me almost, right? For like no good reason. And so, I mean, it probably, now that I look back at it, probably was God's protection for me, right? Because, like, maybe that year would have been even worse for me. But I was thinking, like, I know and love everybody in my grade, right? Maybe there's a few people that are acting weird, but I just felt like senior year was going to be so cool for me. And I ended up moving. But if anything, I moved because I was meant to meet this really, really awesome person named Melissa, who she ended up being my best friend out there. But she also had other best friends already by the time I got out there. Completely understand. And like, I wouldn't want it any other way. I don't want to be somebody's only best friend because I'm not the best friend you could ever have. I'm a pretty good friend, but maybe not the best. Just because I am always doing something random and like not always have the time to be there for someone all the time. But I do love to be with the people that I love a lot. And anyways, so I met her. She's super cool. She was definitely worth it. But I ended up still hating Texas, and in the end, also met another girl that was really cool, Yali, and I would spend the night at her house like all the time. And yeah, but I guess we just kind of like stopped talking a little bit, but that's fine because I'm not the best at keeping in contact either, and I know the love's still there. And anyways, so from there, Texas was just so humid. The creatures out there are crazy. So the bugs are way bigger. The Walmart aisles are bigger. So yeah, when they say everything's bigger in Texas, they're not lying. And but the humidity was gross. I couldn't even go outside comfortably. Like as soon as you go out, you feel sweaty already. In the winter and even randomly in the summer, there's heavy rain, like the heaviest rain I've ever seen. Like movie rain, right? Is like how I saw it. Like as soon as you step out, you're soaked. Like that's real. Like I didn't know that was real until I moved to Texas. And then from there, right, I was talking to someone for a while. I had a long distance little boyfriend, right? And we ended up being together for a really long time actually. But by the time we had been long distance for 2 years already, we met in high school through mutual friends. And he was actually a grade below me, so like at first, and I had just got out of my first relationship. I was like super in love with him, so I wasn't eager to move on right away. And I knew I was going to move, and I didn't want him. I didn't want to do that to this guy, you know, right? I didn't want to be like, oh yeah, I like you too, but I'm moving, bye. You know, stay hung up on me. Like, I didn't want that. So, I never confessed that I liked him until way after I had moved already for a couple months. I confessed to him, like, you know what, I do like you too. I just didn't want to say anything because I was going to move. And because he still liked me, I'm like, wow, you still like me even though I haven't even been around for a couple months? Cool. And one of my friends was kind of making advances toward him, apparently, but I was like, yikes, awkward. But it's fine. It's kind of funny looking back at it now. I mean, we're not together anymore, so it's funny. But, anyways. So, I feel like I say that a lot now. Oh well. Um, from there, you know, we had been together a couple months already, and it was really lonely, not gonna lie, and like I didn't like it. And I was still young, and I was still willing to like, you know, I still had like my mind open to possibilities of being with, you know, maybe there's someone else that was my person, you know, like who knows? Even though I loved this guy a lot, right? But I was still young, you know, I was open to the possibilities. So after a couple years, 2 years long distance, I was like, hey, you know, it's been a couple years and like I'm not feeling this anymore. And I was just like, we gotta do something. We either sadly like we have to break up or we have to move in together. We have to find a way to like live together. Because by that time we were already nine. I was 19. He was 18, I think. So you're still super young. Actually, he's like a little more than a year younger than me. He was like a year and a few months. So I think like a year and 3 months. So he was still, I think, technically like, I'm trying to remember. He might have been like about to turn 18 or something. We were super young, and I had just turned 19. But yeah, he had just gotten his first job actually, and his first little car that ended up being in really, really bad condition. But it's getting hot again. Okay, fans off. I don't know even how loud that was the whole time, my bad. But what am I gonna do? It's cold up in here. It's winter, all right, and it's California. It does get cold in California, especially at night. Or right now, it's super early in the morning, but same thing, right? And anyways, so from there, he had just got his first job, his own little car, even though it wasn't like the best shape at all. And but it was still something. It was still start, and it was like I had none of those things. I was still in cosmetology school. I was almost finished with it, but I would need more hours in any other state. And the dropout fee was like 300, and I would be saving $900 in the long run if I did that. So I was trying to save my stepdad money at the time, like this stepdad that my mom had just married. And but even though he paid every single month on time before that, this specific month that was probably the most important month, he did not pay it until 3 months later, 3 months after I already left the school. And by then it was the new year, and the original owner still wanted to do it for me, but the other guy who was also like a co-owner, he did not want to do that for me anymore. He was like, nope, they took way too long. The deal has expired. Now they have to pay the whole tuition. I was like, oh man. And I was like, I can't afford that. I was a little 19-year-old. I had just started my job at like Walmart, you know? And they paid at the time. Minimum wage in Texas was still like $7. So in Iowa, working at Walmart was $9, and as soon as I got hired, they raised it to 11, and then literally right after that, $12 an hour. So it was cool. I felt like it was a huge blessing, and it was meant to be. And before that, I was even trying to look at salon jobs, and like it was hard to get a job first of all because I didn't actually have my license yet, but they were willing to hire me if I got enrolled in a school out there. But then I was looking at the pay for salons, and they paid basically the same as Walmart. They would pay like $10 an hour, and then I guess you get tips, right? But I didn't know how that was gonna go. It wasn't guaranteed like how much I was gonna make, so I went with the Walmart job. And after that, that situation, that relationship actually ended up really, really messy because we were so young and we were learning all these hard lessons together, right? And it was really difficult for us to make money. I mean, and realistically, we should have just dealt with what we had and saved our money that way. But it was just hard because we were young and we still wanted to like have what we wanted and then some. So we made a little mistakes, and we ended up getting in some trouble. And I ended up realizing that if I stayed in this relationship, it was ruining my life. It was kind of ruining both of our lives, and these choices weren't entirely mine. They weren't primarily mine. I would go along with it, and that was my mistake, right? Or allow it to happen. But I fought really hard against like some of the choices that he made, right? And I would even get to the point where I was having like these crazy dreams that something bad was gonna happen before the bad stuff actually really happened, right? And he was supposed to be same religion too, and so I would tell him how I think God is telling me these things, and then but he wouldn't believe me because he said that he would pray about it, and that if God really wanted him to stop doing whatever he was doing, that he would make it super obvious to him. And I was like, okay, but what if the way he's telling you is through me? He considered it, but not enough to stop doing what he was doing. So, basically, I had to leave. I had to leave that situation. It was like so hard for me. It was honestly it was probably the most difficult thing I've ever had to do, next to what I'm going through now, I guess. But even that, I think that was harder because I was younger and it was really a first time experience completely. It was devastating for me. I really thought this person was going to be the person that I ended up with forever, you know? And I guess we all kind of think that when we're younger. And anyways, so that happened. I found it in myself to just leave, and like thankfully one of my cousins opened a little door for me to go stay with her back out here in California at this campground that I'm staying in now. I'm not living with her anymore. I have my own little trailer now. It's an old trailer, has a lot of issues. I'll get into that in a minute because that's something else I've been going through. I'll just get into it now. It's been raining really hard out here lately, like everywhere, even in Palm Springs where I work, and that is a desert out there, and it's been raining nonstop all week everywhere. And I kind of notice whenever it rains out there, it rains like everywhere else. Here, or in my little town, um, the town over, my hometown, 30 minutes away, um, Redlands, which is really far, like it'll rain everywhere. And I know this because I would do DoorDash for a while. And so I'd be traveling everywhere within the same day, and I would see like all these areas every single time. Every time Palm Springs was raining, I would leave work, go home, rain. Go do DoorDash, be up in Redlands, rain. Go visit my mom the same day, rain. You felt. So, anyways, yeah, that that's happened recently. The roof is so leaky because this trailer is so old. It was abandoned for a while. I've been living here already for a few years, but years before that, nobody was living here. It was just completely abandoned, and so the weather has really weathered down the roof, and this rain leaks really bad now. Um, and like I'm fine. I mean, I just put a few pots and pans because the leaks are in the room, the bedroom, and now I sleep here in the living room. There's a fold-out couch and stuff, so I'm fine. I'm dry, and then the little cats are dry too. I have 3 cats now. I just had one, but I'll get into how I got the other 2. Um, they're not really mine. They're somebody else's, and they're cute though. Aw, he's so cute. He's so needy. Trying to focus though. So the leaks and everything, and then I was just talking about like Texas, how horrible it was. I ended up moving to Iowa, right, to try to make that relationship work. It ended up not working. Moving out here to California with my cousin, having a hard time letting that relationship go right away. Reconnecting with my first boyfriend from high school. So at this point, I literally have only been in 2 relationships. And for the longest time in Iowa, I had this best friend who was like my only friend for the longest time out there. Because my boyfriend at the time also had this thing where he like didn't trust anybody out in Iowa. He didn't want to be close to anybody. And he put those ideas in my head that everybody was like sketchy, right? Even though I wanted to be friends with like everybody, I was fine with it. But he just kind of made me more on the caution side, the way that he would talk about things. I'm like, okay, you've been here longer. Maybe you know things I don't know. Who knows? But this guy, like my best friend out there, he was the one guy that I was like, no, I'm keeping him. He's my friend. Like I need to have at least one friend out here, and he's really cool. We like all the same things. Like I'm gonna be his friend. And then that was a whole situation. Anyways, we I moved out here to California, and after a while, like me and my best friend out there, it was like literally 2 years later, so it wasn't like right away. And we started talking, right, after I've already ended my other relationships again. And I have to go out there to fix the issues that my other boyfriend had caused out in that state, right? And he was kind enough to let me stay with him. And then that whole situation got really, really bad too. It got toxic fast. And I think it's because we both had been going through a lot, you know, for the longest time before even trying to be together, right? So, a lot of bad stuff happened out there, but since we had known each other so long, it was hard to break that relationship right away, right? So, we stayed together, and we were long distance, even though I had told myself I would never do long distance again because I didn't like it. And I told him these things, but we did have a lot of love for each other, so we just gave it a try anyways, and he really wanted to. And it's not that I didn't want to, but I kind of just felt like the odds were against us, you know, and it's definitely seeming that way. But we were long distance for around, I would say like a year only. I'm trying to remember actually. So we had got together there. He helped me with my legal issues. We went through a lot. I stayed with him, I want to say like 4 months. I stayed with him out there, or 3 months. I'm trying not to think too hard because it's not as important. And so from there, I came back here. I immediately got a second job to try and speed up the process of helping him come out here and trying to get my mind off of all the craziness happening, right? And but we ended up breaking up anyways, because at some point, when I got my new job and I made some new friends, there was just some stuff that he was sketched out about, and he was not completely wrong, right? I ended up like breaking up with him because every phone call, like, he was just mad at me. He would just be yelling, right? And I'm not used to that kind of verbiage. Like, I didn't grow up in a household where my parents ever yelled at me a lot or cussed at me, right? They would punish us, they would ground us, and like when we were super little, they would spank us, not hard, not like abusively, right? Just once, twice tops, right? If we were super bad, that's it. And that's on the butt only. There was a couple times I think when I was like really sassy or really over the line with my verbiage, and I did get slapped. So maybe a couple times. I don't know. I don't have an issue with the way that I was disciplined. I think it was the best way for me, right? To like be disciplined that way. But anyways, whatever. You can have your opinion on that, and you can raise your kids however you want. And anyways, so yeah, that happened. I was with him for 4 months, came back out here, we broke up, tried to see someone else for literally just like 2 weeks, but he ended up going a little crazy because I didn't want to commit to him right away, like literally after 2 days. And like, I don't completely blame him. I mean, we do get really strong feelings sometimes, and I did have strong feelings for them too, or at least I thought I did, but I had been studying a lot about psychology, and like I had been warned a lot that like the transference of emotions, right? So if I was so in love with my first boyfriend from high school and I get together with this new guy, the feelings get transferred to this new guy. And then I'm with this guy for years and years, for the longest time I think he's the one, and things don't work out. I go back to my first boyfriend, things don't work out. I go back and forth between them, not confused, not understanding why can't I decide who I love the most, why can't I decide who I want to be with, and like later realizing the answer is neither of them are the one. That's why I'm having a hard time deciding, because they're your exes for a reason. And then from there, trying, like, my best friend, proposing a relationship and me not wanting to for all these logical reasons, but me having a hard time refusing it because I loved him so much. Emotion can override logic a lot, and it's not good, but it happens. And so we got together, transferred all those love feelings of all those years from both those guys to him, and I already loved him so much too. So that's a lot of love there. And then that didn't work out, and a lot of traumatizing stuff happened in that relationship, so immediately transferring it to this guy that I don't even know him. But he was a really cool guy, but in the end his emotions got the better of him, and he said some awful things to me that he could not take back. And there was one thing specifically that he crossed the line because he compared me to some other girl he had been with, I guess. And I knew, like, to call BS. I was like, whatever, like, if she was really so great or so much better or whatever, why would you not, you're not with them anymore, like, clear, like, that's what I was trying to get them to see. Like, come on, dude, like, think realistically. Like, if they were really so much better, you'd still be with them. So but it's just that line, right? That it's just like it taints the relationship. You don't see them in the same light that you saw them in before, and you already don't have much history. So it's like, and you've been learning about toxic people to avoid them, and boy, bye. So bye. And yeah, he's gone. He did his crazy little dance and left. And then my ex, so like my best friend, he ended up reaching out to me later and saying that he missed me. And then so after me and the one random dude, right, we broke up. He couple weeks later, that's when my best friend messages me, I miss you. And then I think about it, and then I'm just like, I miss you too. And then we start talking again, and he asked me if I'd been with anybody else. But we had just started talking again for 2 days, and I didn't feel comfortable telling him all those personal details yet. I'm like, you're not my boyfriend anymore, right? Like, we gotta work up to that, intimate details and all that. and I have to be willing to do it in my own time. So at the time I was just like, no, and I just didn't want to talk about it, and then later on, but he kept pressing and pressing and insisting and insisting, and like he went crazy and crazy and be like, no, you were with someone, I know you were. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, and eventually when he finally calmed down, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna be honest with you now, I did see someone for a little while, and he lost it. And I was like, trying to explain to him, like, dude, I wasn't keeping. It literally took me 3 days to tell him, like, so I don't feel like comfortable telling him the second day. But then I told him the next day because I am an honest person, like, just whatever. Anyways, yeah. So he didn't had a hard time accepting it right away, right? And we kept trying to make things work, and I could tell that he never really got over it, because then he did some sketchy things, right, like trying to break things off with me and then go find someone else, and then just like that really causes a lot of betrayal, because in that moment I felt like I had no choice, like it's kind of abusive, and when I decided to end things, and then when he decided to end things, it would just be like random, right, like we'd actually be doing fine, and then one day it'd just be like, oh, I'm trying to talk to other girls. I was like, what? Like, that's technically, dude, you're cheating because you're not straight up breaking up with me first, right? I straight up broke up with him first, and he just had a hard time accepting what had happened and deciphering like the differences between what I did and what he was doing, right? So that was one thing. And then I realized way afterwards, it's like, hey, technically, yeah, that was cheating, and like technically he cheated on me, and that's why ever since then we had like extreme trust issues, and I had trust issues with him, and that along with a lot of other things, but in the end of it, he ended up moving out here too. I had told him I actually didn't want to live with someone if I wasn't engaged to them, because I've been there, done that, it didn't work out. But he obviously pointed out how crazy that would be to be engaged to someone that lives halfway across the country. So I was like, yeah, you're right. That is kind of crazy. Like, maybe we should do things the way you want to do them. Come out here first, and then whenever you feel like it, then you can do, you can propose or we get married or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, it was whatever at that point, I guess. And, so he came out here. We literally, though, the main goal was to eliminate his reason for things not working out so far, which was that he was in Iowa and we were long distance. That was his reason for all the issues and stuff, or the sketchy behavior. So I was like, okay, well then come out here then. So then you can see that it's not the real reason, right? And or we can see that it is, and everything will work out. This is fine. Either way, we get our answer. And he came out here, and yeah, things weren't really working. At first they were. He got a job right away in a industry that he really loves, and it paid decently. At first though, the only issue was it was overnight, and over time, and I had done the overnight thing, and it's not healthy for you. And after a couple months, or even a couple weeks, you start to see it affect your mood really bad. And then after a couple months, that's when it affects your health, like how you're actually physically feeling. It's awful. And so I, like, after a couple months of trying to convince him to switch from night shift to day shift, he did it. Because literally he was only night shift because they were paying him slightly more, like 50 cents more. That's definitely not worth it. The advice I give is avoid night shift at all costs, unless you really, like, that's your only option, and okay. But if you have other options, do those. And, yeah. So, basically the main thing, though, that happened recently was in October. We went to a big event. It was When We Were Young Festival. It was cool. It was difficult for me to get tickets. I'll tell you the story about the tickets because it was a little interesting. It was, so I found out about the event through a high school friend. She posted about it on Instagram, and she's really cool. I've always loved this girl so much. And, she's just always been cool. And she was, like, a grade above me, so there's that, like, oh, you're cooler because you're older. But, anyways, she posted about the festival, and I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go, because it was all the old emo bands that we all knew and loved back in the day. And, so I got in line to get the tickets, right, but they were sold out right away. like right away. And everyone was so bummed. And then I signed up for the waiting list, and like just knowing I had a fat chance, I was like, yeah, right, probably not gonna get them. And then I went crazy. Like I tried to go find tickets other ways, right? And I found them. They were super expensive. I think originally they were around 300, like a little less than $300, 240 something maybe. And these tickets were 600 a piece. Yeah, so I literally paid like 1,200 bucks to go to this thing. And I figured it'd be worth it because it's a huge concert. So many bands that I love. Like, come on, like it kind of is. Because just a regular concert with only even just one band or one artist. Sometimes they have three or four tops. Can be 300 or 400 bucks. So to have like 20 bands or however, they probably had more than that, of like the ones that you love in one festival, like worth, definitely worth it. So I did it, and I had the money to do it. I've been working and saving for so long. Not saying it was the best investment ever, but to me it was worth it in the end. Um, but only if you have the money to do it. So anyways, I did that, and then guess what? Like 2 days later, I think, not that long afterward, the waiting list went through, and I got tickets at a decent price. I'm like, dang. And I like considered selling those other tickets, but those other tickets were a little sketchy. Like I didn't know if they were 100% legitimate or not. Like the expensive ones, which was really scary for the longest time. In the end, they ended up being legitimate. But I was confused on the dates. So this is where I hope I don't get in too much trouble. Please don't send too much hate on this for me. Like anyone's really gonna see this, but just in case. But I ended up going on the day, the first day of When We Were Young festival, and guess what? Yeah, so okay, first of all, on the way there, I was trying to get ready, trying to look as emo as possible in my own little style. I had this spiky top. It was pretty cool, not gonna lie. And then shorts with a cute butterfly chain on them, my boots, um, and I was trying to put in these uh, pink highlights in my hair. They were extensions, right? So, but I messed up and I didn't get the glue for them in time. So I ended up having to use alternatively black nail polish. Don't recommend unless you're desperate, really, really desperate. Um, I hope you never get to that point. But it was difficult to like stick them on, but I would just like sort, like a little piece of hair, put them on top, hold them for the longest time, and then finally let go. And that wouldn't even always work. I had to do it a couple times, and then they would stick, right? But in the end, my hair looked pretty good, not gonna lie. But it took the whole way there to do my hair and makeup. And originally the plan was for me to get ready and him drive the first half and I would drive the second half. But he was rushing me just a little bit, and I understand because we were both a little paranoid about the time, right? Like we wanted to get there on time. It's a really big event. Me too. I've paid a lot for this event. I want to be there on time. So we left like almost right away after we woke up and got dressed and stuff. And so I'm like, okay, well, I still gotta do all this and that. So you drive. By the time we got halfway, I was not ready at all. So he had to keep driving the whole way, and like he was not happy about that. He was tired, right? Probably grumpy and stuff. And by the time we got to Vegas, it was so overly crowded, and he already has like pretty bad social anxiety. So seeing that, it really got to him. He was very nervous, and it was hard for us to find parking, or for him to find parking, because he was still driving, and especially free parking. So all the people around made him nervous. Not being able to find parking right away made him nervous. Being in a brand new place made him nervous, and he kept wanting me to be the one to find parking, but I was still getting ready, and I'm like, okay, dude, I also am new to this area. I also don't know where to park. So why does it seem fair? Like, how does it make sense to like make me do it when you're just as capable as I am of parking? Like it just, we're both like adults. We both know how to drive. I understand you're tired because you've been driving the whole way, right? But literally, you just have to find parking. Like, what would be the difference of you finding it versus me, right? Like, I was tired too. Like, I don't know, whatever. But I get it, you know, there's like little differences between the way he was feeling and the way I was feeling, but it was still similar. And so I just had a hard time seeing why he can't just find parking. It's, you know, whatever, like no pressure. We're a little late. Take your time, like. But he was really freaking out about it and like became verbally abusive again. You know, it's crazy. I don't like admitting that stuff because I don't want to paint them out in a bad light, right? Like we all have our moments, especially if we're raised that way. But I wasn't, so that kind of stuff, you know, really, yeah, it's crazy to me. But we found parking. We get to the event, and even when we get there, we see emos going. That's my automatic cat feeder. It's loud. My cat needs to be on a diet, so now they're all on diets. And I'm waiting. It's gonna be a minute. Chungus. Gigi. All her nicknames. I try to say little baby at the end and it just cuts me off. Anyways, whatever. They're getting fed. Um, so we find parking, and even before we find the parking, when we first get there, we see all these emos going in the opposite direction of the event. And I was like, what the heck is going on? And he was like, I don't know, maybe they're going somewhere else or like whatever. I'm like, sketchy. And then we finally get there to the gates, and like everyone's like waiting and waiting, but we're already late, so I don't understand. And then I look at my emails and I see the event was canceled due to high winds. Wild. I'm like, oh my gosh, so everybody here is so disappointed. Like probably the biggest disappointment of the year for us emos, I guess. But luckily for us, we had a second ticket. So it wasn't the end of the world for us, but for everybody else, I can only imagine, like, all that travel, all the stress, all the effort for nothing, all the hopes and dreams of seeing all the bands that you love finally, you know, now that we're older and all that. It's just like, wow. And there was one guy I specifically felt really bad for later. I found out about him way after, but when we got home from Vegas and stuff a week later or whatever, there was this guy who completely dressed up as a My Chemical Romance marching band member, and he was sitting outside the gates, and he was so sad. He was just sitting there with his head low, and I'm like, oh my gosh, the amount of effort he put in and how bummed he must be. I'm just like, I found out about him, I think, because my boyfriend was watching No Jumper podcast, and they brought him up. It was No Jumper and Dan, what's his name? Dang it, I forgot his name. He's cool. He's really cool. He's really funny, but I forget his name. But he has a podcast with this other guy, right? He has like long brown hair, and this guy was the one that brought up When We Were Young festival, because I guess he like wanted to go, but then the event got canceled. And my boyfriend was like, "Wow, I got to go," and he didn't because he was a huge fan of this guy, and like he just thought that was wild. And so I just feel so bad for that My Chemical Romance fan. I just told my boyfriend I really, really hope that they see it somehow and give him something like a free show or like a little meet and greet or something, you know? Because that's so sad. And, but who knows what happened with that. I haven't done research on it. But, so we end up going to eat at the Paris hotel. That was nice. It was alright. Kind of a bit of a wait though for some food. Then the next day, I remember having to go to Sephora to get more makeup because like the one thing I wanted to bring was my makeup bag, and then I realized I didn't bring it. So super early in the morning when I realized I didn't have it, I had to hurry and go to the only makeup store that was open at the time, which was Sephora, at like 9 a.m. The concert starts at 11, and everything in Vegas, it's kind of far, but it's really far because of the traffic, right? So it was annoying, but I like hurried up into Sephora, got my makeup as fast as possible. But you know, even as a girl, it's hard to find makeup. It's like you still take your time, even though you're in a super hurry, you know, whatever. And I just picked like random makeup, right? I ended up finding out through them about East Saint Laurent, makeup is actually, the coverage is so much better than like other makeup brands at like Ulta and stuff. You know, even though they're high end too, and they're much better than like, you know, more common brands like Walmart brands and stuff. But man, Yves Saint Laurent, their coverage is crazy. The coverage is unreal. It like literally is like almost flawless, like almost like airbrush. You know, it's really cool. But then I kind of recently heard that Yves Saint Laurent might be sketched, like with those other bigger brands like Balenciaga and now Gucci apparently. I don't know, but I really like Yves Saint Laurent. But anyways, it's fine. I could give them up because guess what? I found out about a different French brand that's also really amazing, Lancome. You know, I found out about them through my mom's boyfriend, which I was like, how the heck does he know that Lancome is one of the best brands? And then he explained to me because they're French, and Paris, France, is actually like where makeup originated in the first place. So that's why they're, you know, they're one of the OGs. They're one of the best of the best, right? So I was like, oh, that's really cool. And even now, like, I have their makeup now, and that's one video I kind of want to do, like a little makeup tutorial. This is just a long, rambly, random getting to know me video, okay? It's not the best. It's literally like doing this like on a whim, right? Like not scripted, not planned out, whatever. Anyways, so I got all that makeup, and then they gave me these little samples, right? These little sample bottles, and it was Sunday Riley brand. I never heard of them before. They ended up being amazing. That little tiny bottle lasted me like 5 days, and after the first day, I could tell a difference. After the third day, I could really tell a difference, and I was like amazed. So by the time I finished the bottle, I'm like, I need to get more, and I need the biggest bottle they got. It was, 1 second, let me go get it real quick. I'm not wearing shorts. 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I messed up. I totally messed up. I hit pause on the recording, and instead of hitting play again, I just hit stop. So the recording just stopped. I don't know how I'm gonna fix the video or what I'm gonna do about it, but this is the bottle of the Sunday Riley brand. It's called CEO Glow by Sunday Riley. It says vitamin C and turmeric face oil with advanced vitamin C and primrose oil to brighten, hydrate, and glow. And oh my god, does it make you glow? Like, it's crazy, and it makes your skin smoother and just better. You know, and even though my skin might not be the best now, right? But it used to be so horrible because I always like, well, not always. I would say by the time I was old enough to like, you know, hit puberty and get zits and stuff, I had started the bad habit of picking at my face. And so then as I got older, right, and I started using makeup to cover my little flaws and stuff, it all started with a sunburn, by the way. I was starting to wear makeup. And even my cousin was like, why cover it with makeup when you can cure it with like aloe and stuff? You know, like, wouldn't it be better to actually cure it and get rid of it instead of just covering it up? And I'm like, no, girl, because I want an excuse to use makeup. So I went and got makeup for it, and like, she was right. It's way better just to prep your skin first and make sure it's healthy first, you know, because then makeup just looks so flawless on top of it, even the cheaper brands of makeup and all that. But I didn't do that. So yeah, and then as I got older, my skin picking just got so much worse and worse. The makeup didn't help, right? I also had like this weird OCD where I would like, but also depression at the same time. I remember getting depression around age 14 because I guess I was old enough to have it by then. The reality of life sinking in, and just not being happy where we were at in life, me and my family and stuff. We were back in this tiny town in Nevada that I told you about that I was miserable in, and we didn't really have any furniture in our new apartment, and it just wasn't a good place for me, you know. And so that's when I first started getting depression. And mine, though, I found out because I did take a couple quizzes online. I know it's not like 100% the most accurate professional way to, you know, treat or like figure out what's wrong, right, psychologically and all that. But I answered all the questions they gave. Usually when you go to a psychologist, they ask similar questions. They'll just ask a few questions, maybe 12 to 20 questions about a certain disorder or whatever it is. and if you get a certain amount right, chances are you have it, right? And then they'll start medicating you accordingly. But I have only actually a mild form of depression, and I took actually recently a bipolar one, and I got like almost all of them. But those questions seem normal to me. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people might have it. Who knows? Anyways, and then I remember taking like a psychosis one, which is like, it's not like being psychotic, like being a psycho, like hurting people and stuff. No, psychosis is like you're paranoid, like, oh, someone's watching you, and like, or something's around the corner. You know, it's just like general paranoia. And I got like mild form of that too. And I found out like most people do actually, because I started talking to people about it. Like my mom, my brothers, my cousins, they're like, I think I have that. Even my friends, you know. And I just think that's kind of funny though. I mean, it's kind of sad, but it's kind of funny that we all are a little paranoid all the time, and like someone's out there. But anyways, so yeah, I don't know how actually, and I also have ADD. That for sure I was diagnosed with by a psychologist in middle school. I was never properly diagnosed with anything else. But yeah, I have ADD. That's kind of why I'm all over the place. Like I was like, I messed up on the recording, right? And then my phone died, so I had to wait for it to charge. Whatever. All I've been doing is like eating these little croissants from Walmart. They're really good because they're really buttery, but I don't recommend because gluten and all that. As I'm getting older, I need to try to be healthier. But look at me. Anyways, whatever. I was talking about my ADD, right? So that's why I can't stay on topic that easy, but I try my best. And like earlier I was like reviewing the recording, right? As I was waiting for my phone to charge a little more, and it's still charging, but um basically I skipped over the part where I originally was talking about like the high school and the misunderstandings between my friends and stuff. So I accidentally skipped to a new topic, which I understand. This topic isn't even that important, but just so you guys know, just as an example, the girl ended up being like, oh, why aren't you hanging out with your old friends? I'm like, oh, okay, well now my best friend has her boyfriend, and they're, you know, always all over each other all the time, which like I meant it like, you know, they're in love, they're like goo goo gaga over each other, have each other's attention, they're right there, you know, with each other all the time. And then but that's how I had said it, you know, in like those similar words. And then with my other guy friend, right, he ended up becoming friends with the other guy that was like disliked by a lot of people, right? So they all kind of found their person, it seemed like, and I was ended up being the odd one out. So then I was like, hey, you know, like feeling a little left out, so I'm hanging out with you guys. But that's all I said. Oh, she's always with him all the time, and he's with him all the time, and so, you know, I just figured I'd sit with you guys. And she's like, oh, okay. And then we started talking about other things, and then that other girl was there, and I guess she was just like eavesdropping and judging or something. I don't know. I didn't think what I said was that bad. And apparently, she ended up telling my friend that I had said she's constantly making out with her boyfriend all the time. And my friend had, instead of coming to me with it to see if that was true or not, she just believed her right away. And then later, you know, when I was asking her, like, hey, is something up? And then she was just like, yeah, I know what you said to her about me. And I was like, what? And then she told me, and I was like, oh, well, I didn't actually say that. But if you want to believe that, that's up to you. Because when I was younger, I didn't care what anybody thought about me. Like, I cared in a way because it would bother me if you thought negatively about me, but I didn't care enough to fight it. I'm just like, if you want to believe it, because clearly you want to believe that. Otherwise, like, if you didn't want to believe that about me, you would come to me about it. You would try to look for reasons why maybe there's a misunderstanding or whatever, but you didn't. You wanted to believe that I'm bad or whatever, so okay, like if that's what you want to do, that's what you're gonna do. And that's just like my mentality when I was younger. Now I'm older, I believe in at least like, you know, there are misunderstandings, there are people are like in a bad place in their life, and so they will choose to believe negative things instead of trying to seek, you know, positive things for whatever reason. And so yeah, I get it now. It's a little different. So that's things like that, you know, like there was another situation where a guy was like, he had a little crush on me, but he was younger than me, and but I was like newly single at the time, so I was hanging out with like whoever wanted to hang. Like I was cool with everybody, I thought, right? But since he had a little crush, one time like I would walk home all the time, but one day I was like specifically really tired, and he invited me to go hang out at his place. So I was like, yeah, why not? Like, you know, I thought we were just friends, so I was like, cool, I'll go see what your place is like, see what hanging out with you is like. And when I went over to his house, the only place to sit in his room was like the bed, and then there was the TV. So then I like kind of sat on the edge of the bed, and then he kept trying to get close to me, and like basically he was trying to go move. He was trying to kiss me. And then I got like so weirded out by it. I had only been with one person before that and I was still not over them. So I ended up on the floor getting away from him. And then he was like, "What? You're acting so silly. You're acting weird." And like we were just kind of laughing it off. And I was like, "Haha, I'm super uncomfortable." And then yeah, so basically he felt rejected, right? And then later we were all like, it was like a couple weeks later maybe, but we were all going somewhere like out to eat, like a Chinese food restaurant or something. Me, one of my girlfriends, a mutual guy friend we had. He was more acquaintance to me, but they were close friends, and we all known each other all these years, you know, in high school. And there was like a couple other people there too. One of her best friends that we all went to a concert together at one point. My first concert, All Time Low and stuff. It was cool. And Pierce the Veil was there too, but I wasn't a fan at the time. I'm a bigger fan of them now. But yeah, there were those people there. So like basically me, her, the guy, his friend, her friend. So like the five of us. Oh, and this one guy that was best friends with the dude who tried to make a move on me. So basically what happened was like they told me to invite him basically, or he had asked me to hang out, and I was like, "Hey, oh no, actually I'm busy. We're all gonna go eat to this place. You can come if you want." And then he was like, "Okay, cool. Like, where is it?" And I was like late to respond each time, right? Because I was like distracted by my friends. And then by the time like I gave him the location where we were, then literally like a few minutes later we were leaving already because he was taking forever too, right? We were both slow to respond. So by the time he got there, and I even texted him like, "We're leaving." And then but we were getting in the car to leave, and then a few minutes later he's like, "I'm here, where are you guys?" I'm like, "I told you we left." And then he basically told everybody that I purposely like stood him up and like misled him and all that, like, and then everyone actually started to believe him, even though like what the heck, I thought at least my girl best friend would believe me, right? But because this was a different one. But then she like actually was a little skeptical too. Like she was like, "I don't know what's going on, girl. Like I don't know what's happening." I'm like, "What? Like you too?" So like all of them were just kind of like they believed him. It was weird. And then like it was just things like that, you know, where it's like it was something I didn't really actually do, but you can see why they perceived it that way. And then like people just chose to believe them instead of me, and I'm like, wow, fake friends. Nah, I'm just kidding. Like the one girl, I forgive her. Like we're still friends. Like I actually ran into her, which is crazy. And like my job, I work in Palm Springs in a restaurant, and she just like came out, and we were still wearing masks at the time, and she recognized me, and I went to go hand her, but I'm like, hey, it was just like a random takeout order, and I never give takeout orders to anybody. I'm like a host or like a little, they call me a floater, so I like float around the restaurant, but I'm never the one to like go, and like I was still new at the time, and my boss was just randomly like, hey Nelly, can you go give the person their food? And then I was like, yeah, sure, why not? And then I went and gave it to them, and I guess they were parked on the side, and I went to give it to her, and then I didn't recognize her at all, which was funny, but she recognized me with my mask on. She was like, Nelly, is that you? And I was like, Kim? I was like, oh, it's you. And like I feel a little funny using the names, but I was like, not like you'll actually know who they are. But anyways, and she was like, oh my gosh, she's just telling me how she lives in San Diego now, and I was like, oh man, yeah, we were both like, we should hang sometime. But you know, as you get older, it's not like the major priority, like, let's hang, let's make this happen. No, it's like, cool, if it happens, it happens. And she happened to be going to the When We Were Young festival too. She was there, but she was only on the day that it was canceled. And the next day, this is the part that I skipped over too, where I was like, oh, don't hate me for this, because I did something a little naughty on it. But yeah, come on, would you really not do the same? Come on. Maybe some of you wouldn't, 'cause you're better morally, whatever. Anyways, I really wanted to go, okay? And I had made it all the way there, and it was canceled the day before, and I thought I had tickets for the day after too, because I had the 2 sets of tickets. Turns out those tickets were actually for the week after. And me and my boyfriend had already traveled so far, had gone through so much stress twice, and I felt awful when I found out the tickets were not right. And she was trying to scan them, and like, or I was trying to download them, and like then I saw the date, and I'm like and yeah, so I look at him and I feel awful, and he's just like, we're just standing, we don't know what to do, and then he's like, well, what's the way out? You know, he asked her, well, how do we get out? And she just literally doesn't care. She's like, I kind of felt like she was my age or younger, and she was just working, dude, and she was just like, I don't care. She was just like, you go that way through the gates, and then you turn, and then you leave, you know, and she didn't care, and she just kept scanning other people's tickets. So we were like, okay, and then we headed the way that she said, and when we went there was just a gate with no opening. We were just like, how do we leave? And then he was like, what do we do? And then he's like, I could see it in his face, like he wanted to go up to one of the security people and ask them how to leave again. And then I was like, wait, just follow me. And then I like started walking toward the stages. And then he was like, what are you doing? Where are you going? What are you doing? He was questioning me. And then we got to like this little area where I think it was like a pink floor. And you'll see it in the pictures if you look up When We Were Young festival like photos, because they had this whole little area where you could take photos. Sadly, we didn't really take advantage of it, or like we kind of tried to, but we didn't take it too serious, and we didn't take very nice pictures. And he especially didn't take very nice photos of me, because I don't know, this is kind of messed up, but I feel like in my experience, the guys that I know, they're not very good at taking photos. But I did have a boyfriend who were really good photographers, so it's not everyone. But I don't know, it's like a cliche too that boyfriends will post like the worst photos of their girlfriends online and be like, my beautiful queen, and they're like, I'm gonna kill you. But it's still cute. I don't know really what's up with that either, like why that's a coincidence, but whatever. Anyways, so we snuck in. We literally snuck in, and we literally just walked in though. It's not like we hopped the fence, we didn't break something to get in, like we literally just walked in. And I tried to tell my friend that. I'm like, dude, I literally just walked in. And I feel kind of skeptical putting this online too, because it's like, oh, I hope not everybody does this, right? But it can't be that easy to get away with it either. It just I think it was meant to be, honestly, because that day everything went perfectly. And then the next week when we tried to go back, it was my mistake too. I take responsibility for that. I decided to take psychedelics again, and I had a little too much, because I had a little bit the last time too, and it was fine. And I thought I had the same amount this time, but I think what had happened was I ate them quicker, and it was actually ended up being a little more too, probably. But every time you do them, like your tolerance goes way higher. So I thought I was fine. I also ate more edibles, like weed edibles, than last time at a quicker rate, and I ended up out of it, and I could not handle the concert anymore. I feel like that's a whole nother video. I talk about my weird trips, but yeah, it was wild, it was scary, and it was just weird. And so I couldn't handle it anymore. I had to leave. It took me forever to find a way out, and like it was because my boyfriend kept ditching me to use the bathroom, and like I get it, he had to go, but when I was alone and I was being paranoid and stuff, I just like wanted to leave. I like was alone and scared. And so when I left and then he found out I left, he freaked out on me. Like he would not stop cussing me out over the phone. And then even on top of that, I told him like I was scared and I was waiting at the hotel that we had parked at and like by the bathrooms, because I had to use the bathroom, and then I was just waiting there. And then he just yelled at me forever, and then finally he just went back to his concerts. And he would just stay there. And then later I called him, like, hey, are you, like, at a show right now? Because I could hear the show in the background. He's like, yeah. And then I was like, okay. Because, like, he was still mad at me and freaking out on me, but then yet he was still at the concert. So that was weird, you know. And he himself wasn't on anything. So that was strange. Really bizarre. Anyways, I don't know what to make of those situations. Sometimes those freak outs that he has, you know. I like get it, but it's still like way overboard. It's like wild, you know. Anyways, what ended up happening recently was like we got into a really bad fight, and basically the law got involved, right? And I tried to tell them like I don't think that he deserves to do any time or anything. I really just think that he needs help, you know, because he was seeing a psychologist for a little while in his home place, you know, across the country. And but when he came out here, he kept saying he wanted to look for one, but never actually made the time for it, because I think we were distracting each other, you know, like we were so much better off together than we ever were before alone. It's like we had other substance issues before, and then now like drinking and all that, you know. But ever since he moved out here, we weren't drinking at all anymore the whole time, like. And then every once in a while, I'm the one that likes to have a drink. Sometimes when I go out to eat, right, like just one drink, whatever. I don't drink a lot. And then he will too. He'll have one too. And like I think through all these experiences, I've learned that he shouldn't be drinking, because some people, you know, like we're not all equal. Like substance affect us differently, especially over time, you know, age and everything. So yeah, so that ended up happening. And I just hope really that he could get the help that he needs, right? And like there are certain conditions, like with my dad, right, that if you're like so psychotic, like you can't be helped actually, which is really sad. There's a point where like it's too much, and like no amount of therapy or medication will act. There's no empathy pill, is what they say. So some people can't be helped. But I know that he's borderline. You know, like I believe that he has borderline personality disorder. I could be wrong. He could have something else. I don't know much about schizophrenia. He could maybe have like a slight schizophrenia. He could possibly be bipolar. I could possibly be bipolar. But if it's anything other than borderline personality, I'm going to be too scared to ever try again, which is probably for the best. I probably shouldn't be trying again. You know, I understand that, but like if it was bipolar or even psychotic disorder, because bipolar disorder, I heard about a lady who was dating an NFL player, very famous NFL player. I don't remember his name right now. I know he was like white, right? And but he had very curly, bushy hair. So I don't know what his name was, and he ended up being off his meds, and he was choking her and threatening to kill her. And I think maybe like possibly there was a knife involved too. Like I don't 100% remember, but for sure he was trying to kill her. And she ended up locked in a bathroom, scared, calling the police on him. Ended up being because he was off his meds and he was bipolar. And that scares me so bad to know that someone already has a history of acting out, and then if they were bipolar and they get put on their medication and they're much better, the thought that at any moment they could stop taking their medication for whatever reasons and they could have another like an extreme episode like that is so scary to me. You know, it's definitely not worth it. But at the same time, I know our emotions can get the better of us. Like I said earlier, sometimes our emotions override logic, and that's not a good thing, but it does happen. You know, and so I'm trying to be like understanding of both sides, right? Because there's no telling what the future holds, and I'm always gonna have hope, you know, for everybody. But I won't know until right now it's January, right? And so I won't know until February what his condition is and what all is gonna happen to him, you know. So just waiting. Right now it's like I'm not even allowed to talk to him at all. Right now it's for 3 years. It could always be lifted, it could always be taken away, everything could, you know, go back to being better again and at any moment, you know, but I won't know for sure until February. It's very likely though that he's not gonna like, you know, do hard time or anything like that, you know, like it's very likely that they will just do mandatory classes. But I hope that it works out, you know. Sometimes the statistics freak me out because even people that have been in classes for like a year, still like a good amount of them still might still have their moments afterward, you know, and that's horrible thoughts to have about that, you know, and like it sucks, you know, but I hope somehow, you know, against all odds, and I really hope he can have a better relationship with God in any way that he sees fit, right? Because our spiritual well-being is very important, you know, and that is my opinion. I understand if other people don't believe in that, but I do, and it kind of seems like it all comes back to that, and I totally understand. I've been watching this pastor named Jerry Flowers. He's really, really good. I feel bad he has to be associated with me because I'm just a random person, but he's so good at like at basically applying scripture to life, and especially current life, and he's pretty young still, and he can speak in a way, he can make you laugh, he can make you understand it, he can dive deep into it, right, in a way that you might have never heard before. I've never heard anybody speak the way he does. It's so clear to me, and like it just really speaks to me well. And he talks about the difference between a person who has a healthy relationship with God and a person who does not. And when you don't have a healthy relationship with God, it's usually because you grew up in a very awful environment, and as you get older, if God doesn't provide a way out, and even sometimes when he does, right? But in this case, with one of my exes, like, he did not provide a way out. He kept constantly, like, having to be involved with awful people as you grew older, awful treatment. And so as you get older, it's easier for you to believe that there's not a God, right? Because all these awful things happen to you. And if there is one, why should you forgive them, right? And so I understand that. I don't personally understand it because I haven't been through the same things as some people, but the way that he said it, I'm like, I need to keep that in mind, right? And we need to be sensitive to other people's beliefs and where they're at in life. And like, even if you don't agree with it, you have to understand where they're coming from, you know. And oh man, I'm getting emotional about it. It's sad, you know, like having a rough childhood is sad. But I know I came here to do background about myself. I'm very excited about the things that I've discovered recently, like the Sunday Riley. It has helped me so much. I got a kit, two beautiful kits for Christmas from my mom, because I told her about the Sunday Riley, because she was the first to notice my skin looked nice, and I was like, it's Sunday Riley. And it was also the East Saint Laurent makeup too, on top of it. But yeah, and it was, so I ended up getting this bottle, right? And then I ended up trying, then they gave me a little teeny tiny bottle. This was the same size as the original sample for this, but this is Luna. It's the sleeping night oil, and it's like mainly blackberry, so that's why it's blue. The oil is just like a very nice blue color, vibrant blue, and this is like an orange. Right? And but as soon as you put them in your skin, it's gone. It's like really cool. And I was going nuts over all their oils, like because they're all natural stuff, like literally every single ingredient. The first ingredient to this one is regular raspberry oil, and then everything else is just basically fruit and vegetable oils, like the seed oils too. So it's very concentrated, it's very powerful stuff. It's really cool. You notice the difference right away. And like, I'm not being sponsored by this clearly, because I'm a nobody right now. And like, I'm not like that, you know, like I'm whatever, you know what I mean. And but anyways, I think I got little, like, I got my hair in it. Oops. It used to be brand new and clean, and like now, look at it. But anyways, this is how it comes. I recently threw away the cover for it, but it says go to bed with me, and then in the back it'll say like every single step and like how exactly to use it. And it really taught me to ration this stuff, and a little goes so far with these great brands. A Sunday Riley is a little pricey in my opinion, but it's not nearly as pricey as other brands that, like, I started asking my coworkers what they use, because this big bottle right here was like 80, but it's a huge bottle of oil, and it really should have lasted me way longer than it did, but I was obsessed and I couldn't help but like, and my skin was so bad, like, you have no idea. I had like scabs like all over. I know it's really cringe, but it is what it is. And this box, like, so you open it up, right, and then you get the little tiny cleanser, which I had already bought a big cleanser, so I'm good on it, but it's always good to have extra. And there's been times too where like my cleanser will be in the bathroom and I'll be getting ready in bed, and then I'll actually, like, I don't recommend, because it goes longer if you actually wash with water like the proper way, but I have done it where like I'll wipe my makeup off with a makeup wipe, and then I'll rub the cleanser all over my face, and then I'll wipe that off with some makeup wipes, and then I'll use a toner, right? This one comes with its own toner, but I ran out because it's tiny and I was obsessed because it was brand new to me. It's called Pink Drink. It's firming resurfacing essence. I don't know what essence, but it's really good stuff. It has the best reviews on the website, right next to the oil. Obviously, the oil's like probably their number one popular product right now. But it says it's a power drink for your skin. This peptide-infused essence firms, resurfaces, and balances while drenching the skin in botanical and antioxidant support. It's just really good stuff. Natural stuff too in this. Not as much as the oils. The oils have like 100% natural, but I'm starting to learn their product's good no matter what. Especially almost like the ones that have a little non-natural product. Well, it's all natural though when you think about it. But this one, you know, it has some stuff like I had never heard of, like scientific-y things, but it's all good for your skin. Every single ingredient. I looked up every single ingredient for this too, and like this good jeans. And this was the second product I ever bought. So originally I had the Luna oil. I had a big bottle of their Juno oil, which I can't remember the base of that one, but it's like mostly it has both raspberry and like vegetables and stuff in it, you know. And then I had their Alien oil. So I ran out of Juno and their Alien, and I ordered some, but I haven't picked it up yet from the office here. The Alien oil, a UFO. It's green. It's so cool, and it's broccoli based. And I am going to admit that all these oils, they do smell a little funny because they're all natural. but they're amazing. And then the next thing I got was their Good Jeans, the big bottle. But they have an even bigger bottle online. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna show you. Because I ran out of that one. I'm like, I'm getting the biggest bottle they have because it's a better deal that way. And yeah, but this is also a really good deal, the little package, even though this tiny products, but they tell you how to actually use it, and it goes so far this way, and it's just as effective, if not more, because you're using more products, which is a smaller amount. It's brilliant. And like, yeah, so this is the big Good Jeans one. And man, does it make you look like you got better jeans than you actually got? Like, well, not necessarily saying that. I mean, most of my damage was due to my own self, right? Which is why I keep my nails super short now. Or I'll, like, a lot of times I'll get acrylic nails because they're thick. And yeah, recently I found out about gel dip, which is like they put like acrylic layer and then they put gel on it just to make your nails stronger for when you rip off your acrylics and then they're kind of weak. That is like really nice. You know, your nails can grow super long, but they're not like super sketch like when you have acrylic. So the longer they get, the more sketchy it is because they could like literally rip off your whole nail. But it's not like that with those. But this, oh my gosh, look at this bottle. It's huge. It's like bigger than my head. It was $200. I think I got a little deal on it because they give little codes and stuff every once in a while, so it's good. So it might have been a little less, but it's a lot. And then I have, but it's totally worth it. And I have this clean rinse thing that came free a couple times. So every time I bought oil, I think it was like before Thanksgiving. So they were having like a little holiday sale, I think. Or they were just giving, you know, they were just giving. They would give little bottles of oil too. It was so nice. And yeah, this is really good for like, I don't use hair gel. And I know that's not the proper way to use this. You're supposed to wash your hair, rub this in your hair, wait a few minutes, rinse it out. But instead what I do, I don't really recommend, but it's just what I do. I will take a shower, right? Rub this in my hair and not rinse it out. I will put my hair up in a ponytail, and it really, like, it slicks back all my little baby hairs. And before, I had never seen my hair so slicked back and without baby hairs before. So, it's kind of a miracle for me. And everyone at work would like compliment it and be like, oh my gosh, you look so nice with your hair out of your face. And like they speak Spanish over there, like one lady, she mostly speaks Spanish, and she was like, oh, te miras bien pelona or something like that. Or tan pelona or something. So basically, oh, you look so nice, like bald, basically is what she was saying. It was so funny the way she worded it, but I knew exactly what she meant. And this is hilarious. Some things are just funnier in Spanish, I guess. But anyways, yeah, this is the products here. So I got the face wash. The so first you use the face wash, then you spray the little toner, which I actually, sorry Cinderella, but recently, because my mom's boyfriend for Christmas offered to take us on a little shopping spree to the Lancome brand. And let me go grab it real quick. 1 second. Okay, so I got this from Lancome, the toner. It's amazing. It's really good stuff too. So since I ran out of the pink drink, I was gonna buy more, but since he offered, right, I'm like, okay, well, let me get this really nice toner too. And then when I run out of this, back to pink drink, you know, because it's like right down the street, Ulta, and like very convenient for me. I love Sunday Riley so much, and I love Lancome too, you know. I just maybe like when I have to think about, oh, if I want to go into a mall for Lancome, that must not be the only alternative, but I don't know, that's the only one I've been to. Or go to Ulta. I don't know, Ulta just feels more homey. It just feels nice. I don't know. Kind of like Sephora, you know? And like, right here, so I have that toner from Lancome, but right here, so you first use the face wash, then you use the toner, then you use this, the CEO serum. Oh my god, this is so good. It smells so good. It smells like oranges. It's amazing. And I love it. Even though, like, there are some ingredients that, like, are not just, like, natural plants and stuff, but it's all good for your skin. And then, so first face wash, toner, serum, it's like a cream, right? And then the oil. And you can combine them together too for like, to make some kind of like cocktail is what the instructions say. So it doesn't really matter, you know, but it's just recommended to do it this way. And then Good Jeans comes after that. And then the eye cream, the Autocrag, which I really don't think I need it. Like, the only wrinkle I've gotten so far is like right between my eyebrows, but honestly these products have made it better. To be honest though, I can't really give credit to Sunny Riley for the wrinkle fix. It's not that they didn't help at all, But what really helped was this Lancome cream. Now I gotta go grab that too, because it's worth a showing. 1 second. Alright, I'm setting this back up. I hope it stays. It doesn't fall again. Oh, don't have the best setup, because again, I'm doing this on a whim, right? Before I lose my nerve. And so anyways, this is the daytime cream that they gave me. It says it's Regenerate Lift, which I'm multi-action ultra, which I guess is like for aging, right? And sunscreen, broad spectrum, SPF 30, lifting, firming, dark spot correcting cream. And like this was pretty good, but I really saw a difference with the nighttime cream, which is this big jar here. And it same thing, on the label, Regenerate Lift, multi-action night. And then it's all French. But same thing, lifting, firming, night cream. And that's all it says, but man, every time I wear this, the next day I wake up, my skin is like visibly even clearer. Like the Sunday Riley already, every time I use it, visibly clearer. But this, it just speeds it up, you know? I think both products, obviously, but I don't know, there's something about the night cream that's just like crazy to me. So yeah, those are these products here. So after you use the night cream, the eye cream, you use the sunblock here. And then after I use all this, that's when I go in with whatever cream, whether it's daytime or nighttime. And luckily I don't need a lot of eye cream. I have plenty of it. I have the Sunday Riley, I have Lancome eye cream too. And I have, they even give me even another mini sample of the eye cream. So I have eye cream for years, alright? I'm good on that, which is great because I noticed that in my family, the women get crow's feet first. But for me and my aunt, she's the only other one, we get the little middle line first. And I think it's because we'd be confused and angry and frustrated a lot. And other reasons. But, yeah. That stuff's so good for your skin. And I'm kind of tired of looking a little trash right now because I just woke up. But I know it's not that bad. I feel a lot more comfortable with the way I am now than like how I was before. Before, I could never do this. I would be so devastated to be on camera without being ready first, like, because it was so bad. It was just so bad. It was so much scabs, so much redness. It would like look, you know, you can like see everything. It was bad. And like even like to my chest, which like you can still see a little bit, but well, like it will go away and I will have perfect flawless skin eventually. And like it's coming. Like I literally only been doing this for a few weeks and I'm already like so much better than I was before, so it's cool. Anyways, this was just me for the first time in a while being really vulnerable with public, right? So please go easy, which like I don't expect a lot of people to even see, right? But just in case, you never know. And oh, another thing I use, I've just always used this, but I don't know, I just saw it right now and thought maybe it'd be worth mentioning. But I use these just cheap little Equate nighttime soothing lavender wipes from Walmart. They're really affordable and they're really good. Like I haven't found other wipes that are just as good as those, and they're really affordable, so it's cool, you know? So like a lot of times instead of washing my face, I will use those. I'll try to do both, right? Like first I'll wipe off my makeup and then I'll wash my face, because then you use less product, right? And then again, the wipes are more affordable. There's plenty of them. These come with like packs of 40 and they come in double packs a lot. That's how I buy them, so it'd be 80 of them and it's only like $6. So it's a really good deal. Yep, that's all I have to say for now. I'm sure there's some things I skipped over, like when I was telling all my stories and stuff. The only thing I can think of right now is I forgot to mention that what ADD is that I have. So it's attention deficit disorder, for those that don't know. I remember thinking like, oh, everybody must know what it is because you hear about it all the time. I mean, I did anyways, but not everybody knows. Some people might think it's like some kind of STD or something, apparently, because the one girl, she was a bully in school, but she tried to insinuate that, like, ew, is that something like a STD? I'm like, no, you idiot. I was like mad. I was triggered. I was like, no, you idiot. It's a disorder. It's attention deficit disorder. We were all just dumb teenagers. Anyways, it's all good. Like, I want to end it on a positive note. I'm trying not to be negative. I don't want to be like, you know, when I insult myself, I don't take it like too seriously. But I know, like, I'm trying to work on that. I'm trying to be more positive, anyways. Because it's good for us all to have self-love and all that. But to also be realistic. I mean, come on. But yeah, that's all I have to say for now. I really want to do a tutorial on like Sunny Riley. It's probably gonna be the next thing I record. It's gonna be kind of uploading this. Makes me nervous just thinking about it, but it's okay. It's all good. We're all human. We're all people, and we like to be entertained. We like to see into other people's lives and learn about other people. So, anyways, I'm gonna go shower finally. Talk to you later. Goodbye.